Hey there, Alex Kidman with my quick video review of the Huawei P40 Pro. This is Huawei's latest flagship phone, and it's a really interesting creature because on the one hand, it has hardware that I love, on the other, software that I loathe, and it makes for a really it's a conflicting phone. It's a phone that I feel like I should be able to recommend because of the hardware, and the hardware is really, really great, but I just can't, and I should get into why. So let's have a look at the good stuff. And the good stuff is all in the hardware. Let's start with the design. I actually really like the overall design and feature set of this phone. I'm a bit of a sucker for blue phones, and look, like most shiny blue phones, yes, it's a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but it's got nice, smooth, round, flowing edges. Do I have some small niggles with the design? Yeah, look, just a few. There's no headphone jack. I'd rather there was. That front selfie camera, it's a bit wide, it's a bit in your face if you don't like that kind of thing. And the camera bump is fairly noticeable, but then, me being me, I'd be throwing a case on this anyway, which would reduce its particular problem. It's also a really, really powerful phone. So it's running off Huawei's own Kirin 990 processor, it's 5G ready, and it's really, really fast. I mean, Huawei's had this particular problem with phone speed in its flagships licked for some time now, and the P40 Pro is no real exception. Yes, it's the same guts you'd find in last year's Mate phone, but that's fine too. This is all good. And of course, the real crown jewel for this particular phone is the camera. The camera is just spectacular. And Huawei's had a big lead in the camera space, and maybe that's down to their tie-up with Leica, maybe that's down to just what they're doing themselves within Huawei, but either way, this is one of the most fun cameras to use because it just encourages your creativity. There's an awful lot you can do. You can do great macros, you can do great stills, you can do great portraits, you can even do decent video. So all of that is just great. And again, if I wanted to be really, really picky, I could say, well, look, in one sense, it's not a huge leap up from last year's P30, which is also one of my favourite camera phones. It's not a huge generational leap from last year's phones, but last year's phones were great. This is still great. This is still easily one of the best cameras you can get on any phone, hands down. Battery life is also really, really good. Nice big large battery. It does wireless charging. It does that silly reverse wireless charging thing, which really is just a gimmick. But no problem there. The charger you get in the box powers up nice and quick. These are all great things. The hardware on this is superb. And then we get to the software. And the software is a big, big problem. Now, this might look like just another Android phone, and it is indeed running Android. It's running Android 10, but it's only running the open source parts of Android. And that's because of the current US government restrictions around that. Huawei simply can't license Google services, Google apps. So there's no YouTube, there's no Chrome pre-installed, there's no access to the Google Play Store, and this is the real kicker because a smartphone is smart because of the apps it can access. And I'll give Huawei credit, they've thought of a bunch of different ways that you could get around this issue of not having access to your apps. So let's go through them in detail. First of all, you've got Huawei App Gallery here. Now, App Gallery is their App Store competitor, and I'll give them credit. They're certainly trying hard. They're trying to bring new apps on board. But from a Western perspective, do they have the apps you want? No, probably not. You want Netflix? It's not there. You want most music apps? They're not there. You want access to a YouTube app? It's not there because they can't get it, and they're probably not going to get it. And this is exacerbated by the fact that, I'm sorry, App Gallery is just full of lots and lots of junk, either knockoffs of existing apps or apps that really don't sound all that secure or that great. I mean, take a look at this, for example. Now, this looks like, hey, this is Minecraft, right? Well, no, this is Minecraft exploration building games. And this is on the front page. It doesn't really engender a sense of trust in their app platform when they've got this much kind of junk knockoff software sitting on there. So App Gallery could get better in the future. There's some potential for it to improve, but I certainly wouldn't be buying a flagship phone right now on the idea that the App Store might have something in the future. Huawei's other method for getting apps on there is to say, well, just go to the relevant app webpage and download the APK, the Android software package. This is a bad idea. I'm sorry, Huawei, but it is. And the reason it's a bad idea is because you are opening up all kinds of security holes. You've got to be 100% certain, absolutely dead set certain, that the APK that you're installing is the one that you think it is, that you're not installing malware, that you're not creating problems for yourself by having a malicious site or a malicious download compromise your phone. It's not a good idea for general consumers to do, so it's a bit of a non-starter, and it leaves open this whole question about updates as well. But of course there is another way, and as I said, Huawei's thought of a lot of different ways you might be able to get apps onto this phone, because it has a service called Phone Clone, and it's had Phone Clone for ages, years and years. So what's Phone Clone? Well, Phone Clone is Huawei's way that it used to, back when it could do full Google Android phones, used to make it easy to transition to a new Huawei phone by copying just about everything, including APKs, across. So it could copy across apps that you knew had come from Google Play that were presumably safe to your new phone. Problem solved, right? Well, no. There's the really obvious Google APKs, so you can't push the YouTube app across to it because it simply won't work. But even for apps where it says, oh yeah, look, we think this will work, quite often they won't, because they still rely on some underlying Google Play services to actually run. So here's TripView, for example, the popular Australian transit app. And I open it up and hey, TripView won't run without Google Play services, which are not supported by your device. I can actually force it, it's funny, but it doesn't work reliably well, and I've not been able to get it to, for example, grab timetable updates. So it's functionally less than useful. A lot of apps, and you can see I've got a few here, but a lot of apps simply will open but then crash. There are some that will run, so because, for example, I was able to get the Brave browser up and running, and I quite like that actually. It's not exactly clear what Huawei's own inbuilt browser is using. I'm guessing it's Chromium based, but I don't know. But you can phone clone across Brave, and that does seem to work. But even here, there's another little hidden problem. Because sure, you've got the app on your new phone, but you've got no way of updating it. And Huawei's suggestion for how you do that is to update it on your old phone and phone clone it across each and every single time. And it's just a bit of a non-starter, it really is. The final way they suggest, look, that does work, and that is to just simply run apps as web instances. So I can open up YouTube and yeah, look, it'll run, it will play, things will work in the same way that the web app does. That's sort of one way of getting around it, but it's utterly reliant, of course, on having that web interface work, and you're limited to whatever the web interface can do. In the case of some apps, that's not everything that the standalone app can do. So this for me is the crux of the problem with the P40 Pro. It's got beautiful hardware, it's got an amazing camera, it's got spectacular battery life, but as a premium flagship phone, for the kind of money that Huawei want for it, it's just not capable enough. You could spend that kind of money on anyone else's competing Android phone, and you'd have a much easier phone to use where you knew the apps that you wanted were there, where you knew they were going to be updated. Now, maybe in a year or two, if App Gallery really does kick off the way Huawei intends it to do, then it might be a viable Google Play competitor, and the differences might be moot, and at that point, yeah, the P40 Pro might be a great phone, and obviously in a couple of years it might be the P50 or P60. We'll have to wait and see. But for right now, this is spectacular hardware let down by really subpar software support. So that's my take on the P40 Pro. What do you think? Are you keen on Huawei's phones, or are you avoiding them due to the whole Google access issue? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe.